Hello again and welcome to I've Got a Beatles podcast with Dave and Chris. And today's episode is going to be a little bit different from our usual looking at the Beatles and past stuff because we're going to focus today on really contemporary current albums and songs released by Beatle children. We get to hear some music by Dhani Harrison, by Sean Lennon, and by James McCartney, a late addition to our podcast preparation today.
Yeah.
But it's pretty amazing that all three Beatle sons, who are all involved in the music industry in some way or another, all released albums or songs within the same month or two. So pretty interesting timing. How often do you go back to Dhani Harrison or Sean Lennon or any of these catalogs?
I do listen to Ghost of a Saber-Toothed Tiger a little bit. If you remember back when we kind of reviewed that one. I enjoyed that one very much. I haven't really listened to Lennon, Claypool, Delirium, but I've always had the early Sean Lennon albums, Friendly Fire and Into the Sun, kind of in my rotation. I probably haven't listened to them in a while. It might be a good time to crack them open since I, have been listening all week to this one. The Dhani Harrison new number 2, if you remember that group, listened to them a little bit, but not too much. He was in some other thing, Fistful of Mercy or some group, some super group like that with a couple other people. Really loved the main track of that. But his first solo album, we both gave it kind of a positive review, a thumbs up.
Yeah.
But I honestly haven't listened to it since.
No, in fact, before we started recording, I'd forgotten the name of it. So you helpfully reminded me, which may will come up when we talk about the title, and there may be a theme going here. Who knows? And for the one today, I don't know about you, but it felt like both of our albums, the Dhani and the Sean, are a bit of a slog to get through repeatedly. I found them just as a general statement. I think they're interesting, and we'll get into the specifics, but it's not the easiest, most accessible kind of music to get into because they're quite experimental, quite focused on soundscapes and on kind of abstract musical things throughout. So I don't know if did you have that same kind of reaction?
Towards one of the records, yes. Towards another one, no. The other one I found to be very much something I might even purchase and play a lot. But we'll see which one I'm talking about.
We'll keep you guessing here. Yeah. Well, very good. Well, let's dig in here. We're going to go in chronological order. So our first one is Dhani Harrison's Innerstanding.
I made a comment earlier that I just want to explain. His first album, if you remember, was called In Parallel and this one's called Innerstanding. So I'm wondering if that's every single Dhani Harrison album is going to have an In Utopia or In.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. And the first cover was him in a sort of with a big scarf and a black and white cover, kind of a dark cover. The music inside, very dark.
Yep.
Once again, the cover, a very, very dark cover, black and white cover. And it's a very dark, serious, heavy album. But let's talk about when it was released.
Okay. So it was released on streaming October 20th of last year, which also for any classical music fans is also Charles Ives's birthday, American composer Charles Ives's birthday. But that's neither here nor there.
Your big Ives head, right?
Exactly. So that's why I know that. So that came out, but then it sort of with very little press. We didn't really kind of flew under the radar. And then we kept hearing there was going to be physical product. And so that did actually happen February 9th. But once again, the timing wasn't so great. Why, Chris? Why was the timing not great for a February 9th release?
Oh, I got to release my album of underdubbed mix.
That's
Boy, that
right.
was
Yeah, but it was the same week that it was the 60th anniversary of the Beatles coming to America, and the underdubbed Band on the Run
yeah.
album came out too. So once again, it sort of passed by. And but neither of us have a physical copy of it, but we have been listening to it on streaming. So that's what our review will be. So I believe the physical product had a colored vinyl, if I remember correctly,
Hmm.
of some sort.
Yeah, you could have
Yeah.
purchased on his website, I think, a signed copy as well.
Oh,
I think those are sold out, but you can buy the physical product on his. If you go to Dhani Harrison website, you can purchase any of these things. And I
okay.
have seen it I've seen both of these records at the store.
Oh,
So at
great.
my
Okay.
local record shop, I almost bought one of the two.
Well, this runs almost an hour and there's 10 songs. So it's
Yeah,
pretty full of music
yeah.
and
It's a dense album for
dense.
sure.
Good word for it.
Very
Yeah.
serious album, very dark album, very original album.
Yeah.
And it's not just one thing I admire about both of these guys is they could very easily just like follow in their father's footsteps. They both sound kind of like their father. They both play guitar. They both, but so it's like they could both just be doing George Jr. here.
Yeah.
But they're not doing that, and they're also not doing trendy things. This album does not sound like a lot of the albums out now,
No.
for sure.
Yeah, that's a great point because I think that was some of the problem that happened with Julian Lennon, and we've mentioned this before, is when he came out, he was the first. So
Yeah,
of course everybody, and John had just died 4 years before, so
yeah,
everyone wanted to compare him to John, and that was just a huge weight to carry. So
yeah,
these two guys have had more time and more distance, so I think that's helped. But and the elephant in the room for this album, for me, I think only maybe two songs do I hear any real George like sound in Danny's voice, because
yeah,
he processes his voice a lot and has very different range than George.
yeah.
So it doesn't sound a lot like his father.
Yeah, if you're someone who's not into modern music, this isn't. If you're more of a Foghat Beatles slash Foghat fan, like the genre of
Foghat.
classic rock,
Yeah.
this is not going to be for you, I don't think.
No.
And I myself have found myself having to be in the mood for this. This is very dark, but it's intriguing and reminds me a bit of a 90s singer called Poe, who had a
Hmm.
couple very, very good albums, but there are this, and I heard it called in one of the reviews, Gothic Electronica.
Ooh, I like Gothic. That, and
Yes.
definitely a lot of electronic. That's a great description, actually,
Yeah.
for a lot of it, because you do hear a lot of processing, a lot of tech
Yeah.
uh, stuff.
Electronically altered vocals, very
Yes.
much.
Yep.
Especially
Yep.
certain tracks we'll talk about. This is very
Yeah.
heavy on them. I heard another review, and this was a negative review, but it said the positive thing that it said about it was the album highlights his potency at creating soundscapes. And then they said,
Hmm.
and little else. It's all effect. It's all like, oh wow, this song sounds so much different than this. But
Speaking of the content, we won't do our typical extreme, very lengthy discussion of
yeah,
each track. But we will say something about each one.
no.
Uh, I think if you wanted to start out with a rough song, it's the first one, which is called "Dangerous Lies." You want to
How
imitate
do you
that?
like the deep fake sounding creepy voice on this?
Like you got to read the lyrics. If you looked up the lyrics
Yeah,
for this too,
I did. Yeah.
it's like 4 pages of lyrics, and
Yes.
he's just it's like a giant word salad painting a picture of how our days now are a real nightmare.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's got this treated voice where he's reading them like this.
And there's a lot of alliteration in it.
I think a lot of these songs, almost all of them, have the same kind of bass, not the bass, but BASE, kind of the bass sound, which is a minor key,
Yeah.
slow, a lot of synth pad type sounds,
Yeah.
and then a groove. They all seem to have kind of the same feel.
None of these have like regular drums on them. It's all electronic drums. So if you don't like electronic drums, you're in a real hard problem. Also, if you don't like squealing guitars, definitely steer clear of Dangerous Lies. But all that said, I like the creepy like and the album is trying to say something about the current time, probably more so than a lot of albums do. Is what he's saying anything that we don't know? I don't know. So very vaguely, it seems like the solution to the Dangerous Lies, the New Religion, all that is love, but it's very, very, very lightly placed in spots. So
anyway. Well said.
But so Dangerous Lies, kind of a mixed, a little creepy because of the deep voice, but definitely interesting.
So the next song does have actual vocal singing called New Religion. Danny again has there's processed voices on here. A fuzz bass that you also hear quite a bit throughout, which is pretty funky, a pretty good groove. I said also harsh timbres, kind of.
It's a little industrial. This is
industrial.
The most industrial of the tracks. A very, very kind of like faster kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Lyrically, kind of lectury again, but
very negative. Yeah,
negative. Like a Reds and the Blues pretending they're different when they are all in cahoots, and it's just one crooked system. My brothers and sisters, there's no time to lose. Society left us. So that's not really painting a rosy. I mean, it's a true.
Well, it's true. Yeah,
probably,
yeah. I did see someone who was also wrote a negative review of this saying, and we're counting on George Harrison's son to lecture us and complain about all of these things, who's very privileged and.
The Venn diagram between George, though, and Danny is the lectury stuff. Because George was
true. Preachy George. Preaching.
The
George.
Lord loves the ones who love him. Like some stuff like that.
Right.
I do like that track though. It's got a good fit. I like most of these tracks, to be honest with you.
The next one is called Ahoy There. And there are a couple of guests who I've never heard of. I had to look them up. One of them is a guitarist from the group Blur. And then there are different singers. There's this woman is Leela Moss, who I don't know who she is, but this one has sort of again the same key, kind of slow build.
Yeah,
it has a little more pop to it. I don't know.
Yeah, in fact, it transitions seamlessly into this track. And it seems like it's the same exact beat, but then it becomes a different feel. And then we go into this weird, almost like optimistic, like, ooh,
poppy.
I won't be drowned in your lies because I'm alive. Like, almost like an optimistic kind of thing. Struck me as kind of weird, kind of an odd song. It's like living both worlds of the dark and the sort of happier kind of section. Lots of guitar.
Yeah, definitely.
So
definitely. The next one is mostly instrumental. There's just a little part of singing called La Sirena.
Yeah.
And does this one remind you of kind of, I put Sigur Rós or Radiohead or some kind of ambient?
I said atmospheric, but ambient piece is very good. And totally, once again, very treated vocals, but it's like very high vocals, and you can't really make out what he's saying. And all he's saying is, Peppy, can you hear us? Come home to us. And then one other thing. But I like this one quite a bit. This one really feels good to me after the real sort of like dour, like, oh.
It was a change of pace for me. And kind of the beginning of it, there's instrumental part is quite pretty or quite attractive musically. So
Yeah.
I like that one. It was a good change because then the next song we're going back to the dark sound here with damn
that
frequency
frequency so low.
It's the definitely this one's the catchiest of the bunch. This one they released first to announce that the album was coming out. This one's the most similar, I think, to the previous album.
Yeah.
Could have easily been on the previous album. Dark and brooding, yes, but we must be the pawns of overlords. I've got to break up and out of this hell. Lyrics like that.
Yeah. Did you like the saxophone, the real honking low saxophone on there?
Bop, bop.
Yep.
Bop, bop. Yep, loved it. I like this one a lot.
Me too.
It's like
Me too.
It's one of his best tracks so far.
Absolutely. I said catchy chorus, cool groove, nice treated vocals that fit real well. But also again in the minor, kind of a minor dark and brooding.
Yeah, and it's got that ooh, 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 ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Makes me want to take out the baritone sax. I did play the baritone sax.
I know you
briefly.
Yeah. Well, the next one, I want to get your opinion on this. It's called The Dancing Tree. And this one to me sounded a lot like a certain lead singer of Pink Floyd. Who's a little grumpy and grouchy.
Yeah, this is it's interesting you bring that up because it starts with, it's very Pink Floyd-esque in that it's funny because I'm gonna say another track on a different album is Pink Floyd-esque later in the episode. But the it starts with the little radio broadcast and the announcers like saying something very dystopian. And that's a Pink Floyd trick from way back of there's natural sound like TV and radio broadcasts and stuff like that to sort of help illustrate their what they're going for, and it's all over the wall.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it sounded like Roger Waters to me. It sounded like Wall kind of period Pink Floyd.
And then the song in itself, it ends up being a rebuke of political leadership. Here's some of the lyrics. Pretending all the way they saved the place while addicted to the kickback pharma play. Hey, waiting for the cult to rue the day. Just waiting for the cult to rue the day. Yeah, all the people who are starving for some loving and all the horrors they face just for nothing.
Yeah. Which is funny because it's actually, I think, is this the fastest song on the album? It might be. It's the most happiest one.
Yeah, and it is catchy. The lyric I just read, he sings it, but also another guest vocalist, Mariki.
Yeah, never heard of her.
Which I hadn't heard of her either, but I think she's very good in this track, and she sings a whole line by herself. I liked it. I liked the sound of it, but it's a weird kind of mixed.
Definitely. Next one is called Right Side of History. This one is like a chant. It's like one pitch. I'm on the right
train, don't cast no shame, don't preach no hate, I am love. And then that changes. I thought it was interesting because it is a chant, but the chant will change. So it'll be like, I'm on the right train, won't get waylaid, won't. So it's like changes some of the lyrics here and there on it. So I did think that was very interesting on it.
Then it almost it switches feel a couple times in the song too, and gets real fast, kind of grooving with the that fuzz bass again. So
and then you go, "Hey, Mr. Soul Sucking Vampire,
that's my
parasite."
Yes, let's analyze that. Hey, Mr. Soul Sucking Vampire Parasite. Yeah. Great lyric there.
Yeah. So, but I particularly I heard him say right side of history, and we're hearing that a lot.
Right.
Want to be on the right side of history. And so it is of the times for sure. And I guess he came up with the title a while back, and now it's like being said pretty much in every political ad.
The next song is called Ghost Gardens.
Yeah.
I've found this one to be very grim, very minor key sounding Pink Floyd Radiohead like slow. Didn't do much for me. I don't know what you
I
thought.
think I liked it better. There's a lot of Mariki on this one. I'm a little bird in the ghost garden. It's just that repeated a lot, and so it's kind of slight in that way, but it also has this. It also has this 3-note repeating musical theme that reminds me of something on Asterisms, which is
yeah.
But yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's not the is it probably the most skipper of the bunch? Maybe.
Could be. Now, for the last two songs, this is where I thought there was actually more of a George sound, especially in the next one called ICU. I think he sounds a lot like George on his vocals, and it's a very catchy tune. It's got a nice, it's a faster tune, more pop influenced.
Gloria sample. I was trying to figure out where that sample was from. I couldn't find the information online. Lyrically, it's a lot more sparse than the other. Like compare the lyrics to this one to the first song, but when you say, oh, it's sort of George-esque. Well, how do you like these lyrics? Becoming wise beyond all your dreams, knowledge and light is all that we seek. Does that sound like somebody you know?
Sounds like someone Danny knows very well. Yeah.
So
definitely.
And this one's been out there or more recently as a single in the video, and the video is really like very put it on your big screen because it's lots of landscapes and things like that look very, very beautiful. So
Danny sort of looks like one of the gnomes on All Things Must Pass, or on the from Friar Park. He's dressed in like kind of a monk or something.
Yeah, he's in
that video.
He's like that Led Zeppelin guy with the
right on Zeppelin 4. Yeah, exactly. Well, the album ends with a song called Wolves Around the City. And what was your take?
Wolves are mentioned previously in this album, and you can buy a Wolves Around the City t-shirt on this online store. But this was kind of my least favorite of the whole album. And I found it to be like, what is this? Like, why are we ending with this refrain? The wolves around the city. Is it makes you feel like everything's dangerous everywhere. Or are the wolves, is he part of the wolves? I couldn't really piece it together. But just as a song, it just sort of like is very, very repetitive. And long. It does feel like an appropriate coda to a dramatic album to go out with so maybe that's why it's as long as it is they just want to like, oh, we had this epic album, this epic sounding, very loud album. So we want to kind of leave it with a long ending. But it's my least favorite track on the album, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan either. I said it was kind of, again, more Pink Floyd type sound. The minor key, that same, I think at least half the songs are in the same key. They all seem very, and summing up the album, I think that you hit on something, which is the repetitive nature of it. And I think that is what I find. I like a lot of moments in the album, but as a listening experience, it's too long and too much the same kind of sound.
It's very samey, and his first two albums are very, gothic electronica. So I'm interested to see, does he repeat that for a third album, or does he go somewhere different? Where does he go from here? Because they're good, they're interesting. We had said that we liked it when we talked about it, but on repeated listenings, it sort of wears out its welcome for me, because I just feel like I gotta be in the right mindset, and I gotta be in a negative. I'm already in a negative mindset, and I want that enhanced. Then sure,
give credit where credit is due. He certainly is good at making interesting soundscapes, and he knows his way around the studio and around the effects, and writes some pretty compelling songs at times. But I agree, you have to be in the right mindset for an album like this. So, well, now here's something. If you don't know anything about our next album, which is Sean Lennon's Asterisms, one of the typical things we talk about, we don't have to talk about. The
Yeah,
whole album is instrumental. So there
that's
are
right.
no lyrics.
Now, that's immediately a hard sell to the general public, and it's not going to be a big popular $10 million seller, perhaps. However, in more recent days, the last few years, something's gotten very popular, which is jazz albums. Jazz vinyl reissues have been selling like freaking hotcakes.
Especially, you always mention them on Record Store Day, that there's always a whole bunch that are hot sellers and popular.
Yeah, and if you watch I am always recommending the In Groove as a video channel to watch to see the new releases and everything, and it's like, oh, this Stan Getz thing, which has been out of print, is now back in print and all analog and blah blah blah, and it's $50 to buy, but
Yeah.
but they're selling well, and so I think more people, and I imagine younger people are getting into jazz that weren't into jazz. So this does have a lot of jazz element to it, but it's also a rock album a little bit, sort of a merging of styles here on this album, Asterisms. You got Sean on guitar, obviously. You have Devon Hoff on bass, Yuka C. Honda on electronics, Michael Leonhart, who I think is just outstanding on this record, on trumpet. You have João Nogueira. That is a terrible pronunciation. I apologize. On the Wurlitzer, you have Mauro, Ez Smith, and Johnny Mathar, both on drums. And it's a 5-track album. A lot of long tunes, as one would expect from jazz or from instrumental music. What's your just general take on the record?
That was a good setup. I think it's a specific type of jazz. If you're expecting to hear Charlie Parker or bebop, that's not what you're going to get. This is kind of the my guitar teacher from high school used to describe the album Bitches Brew by Miles Davis, which this really reminds me a lot of. He used to describe it kind of negatively. He'd say it's lame jazz and lame rock, and you put them together. I don't feel quite that way about this album, but it is that type of fusion. And then there are moments that sound, if you're a jazz fan, you may know the Mahavishnu Orchestra with John McLaughlin, the guitarist, and kind of mixed meters. Like there's some songs in 5/8 and 7/8, and kind of jazz fusion of the 60s, 70s, 80s sound. But then there's also moments that are pretty rockin'. So it's interesting. There's only, like you said, 5 tunes, and it was released on. Do you know the name John Zorn? He was
yes.
as a saxophonist, and kind of he was known for a type of jazz called quick change music, where you would just change really styles very quickly and abruptly. And so this album was released on John Zorn's label, and so I think it is this kind of avant-garde mixture, but yet there's, I think, enough on here, as we'll talk about, that's still pretty accessible for even if you're not a big jazz fan. If you groove, you'll like it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is the proof's in the pudding,
right?
And the pudding was me putting this on and enjoying the hell out of it. I really have enjoyed this. Now, is it on careful listening where I'm taking notes? Maybe I was like, oh, this part's just this repeated over and over again. That kind of, like, I'm being a little too micro on it. But if it's in the background, I think you're really gonna like this one.
Yes.
So I almost bought this the other day at the record store.
It might still be there.
It probably still is, because I thought, oh, should I wait for this to go into one of the resale bins, because I've found a few things like Band of Horses album in 50% off bin. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw the Ringo. I saw Give More Love in the 75% off bin the other day, by the way.
Nice. And you picked it up, right?
No.
No.
I could have got it. Yeah, it would have been $5, but
$5. Wow.
yeah, it's probably still there. I
Probably.
could hop over there after we get off. But anyway,
well, we should mention the title here. So
yeah,
I read an interview with Sean on from Rolling Stone, and so Asterisms, he talks about how and Beatle fans know this, Lennon fans know that John and Yoko were really into astrology.
yeah,
And they had to plan their life events for certain days, and they'd have an astrologist come in and read their fortunes or whatever you do. So that's kind of a nod to the astrology aspect. And there is a song on the fourth song is called Asterisms. So
yeah.
it is there.
An observed pattern or group of stars in the sky. Asterisms can be identified pattern or group of stars. Yep.
Exactly.
So anyway, it's only 5 tracks, so this shouldn't be too long of just talking about it. But the first one's a pretty epic track called Starwater that starts very ethereal, kind of like this one I felt like was the most in sections. It was almost like an opus. And the first section was very ethereal, space-like sounds and wild drums. But then it calms down into this, and the song really starts in a very distinctive, repeating electric guitar arpeggio, which is kind of a lot of the album is that.
Yeah.
A repeating pattern, repeating like melody.
And we have a fancy name for that in music. Call it an ostinato.
Aha.
There are lots of ostinatos throughout this album. It's just a repeated pattern over and over again.
Yeah.
And
and
this one's in 5/8 too, so it's kind of a
is this
cool
the one that
meter.
goes da 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 da?
Yeah.
And it's got that it's got that at some point it's got this bass glissando there.
Yep.
So,
it rocks out at the end.
Yeah, where the electronics come in, and then you get this. This is so the second section it establishes the ostinato, right? And I find that a lot of these tracks does the same thing. Okay, let's establish the ostinato, and then let's go wild with it, or get into some solos.
Right.
And this does the same thing. You got the guitar at first, and then the trumpet comes in. Trumpet playing fantastic again.
Yeah.
And then when the drums come in, the drum beats come in, the drums have a double time feel to the tune that they're playing. So now we're kind of cooking, right? And then the electronics come in and stuff like that. And you get this kind of hot electric guitar solo from Sean, very Zappa-esque. And I was like, oh, this reminds me of a lot of Zappa instrumental albums.
That's a great comparison too. Yeah.
So if you like Zappa instrumental stuff, you're probably going to love this one.
Yes.
And then there's like a Morse code type sound. It goes into another section. Sort of a more epic, deeper lick comes in, and the drums start to have a real scattered thing, and we're getting a noise guitar solo. So it reminded me of "I Want You," it like kind of builds up into this sort of like epic kind of thing with where you start to get the layers of swoops and sounds in the background, and then it just sort of ends and kind of fades off for a minute,
Right.
So, I really love that first track, that Starwater.
I think it's a good opener because it kind of gives you a taste of what the whole album is going to be like, because you've got all the different soloists. The trumpet is very cool. It's a lot of muted trumpet, a lot of Miles Davis kind of sounding trumpet throughout, and sort of processed, I think, as well. So a good start, and then it follows up with another. You like this title? Number 2 here is "Thinking of M."
What is M?
I don't know.
I was thinking it might be Mars, because the next track is called Acidalia, and Acidalia Plantia is a plane on Mars. like a particular area of Mars. So that could be the Thinking Vim, is what I was thinking of. Thinking Vim, it's the shortest track, sort of a sneaky little keyboard pattern.
Yep.
Gets it, and then a warm sounding guitar lick, and just maracas playing.
Yeah.
And then we get the trumpet with the ostinato.
Yep.
I love that. Yep. Boy, I sound education.
You're very. You might even have a music degree. Yeah.
I love the trumpet on this. I really want to hear more of Mike Leonhart stuff. I guess he's based in New York, so I'm going to seek him out the next few weeks, I think. But they're playing together, the guitar and the trumpet, but then they separate at some point, and the guitar is playing one melody and the trumpet's playing a counter melody, and it's a lot looser and jazzier in that section. It felt very like playful jazz, two
Improv.
people each other, you know, but still on beat, you know. But yeah, I like the track.
Yeah, me too. I like the trumpet solo, the keyboard. It's a 7/7/8 meter, so it's also kind of an off-kilter feel, but you can still groove, and the ostinato grooves pretty well. So it's a good tune. I like it.
Yeah.
That third one, Acidalia, which I didn't know. Thanks for the background. I didn't know that. I thought it was just like acid, because it's kind of Itch's Brew 60s acid rock jazz sound.
Yeah, totally trippy. This one.
Trippy. Yeah, I actually wrote trippy here on my notes. But you've got the Wurlitzer or the Rhodes that you hear throughout. That kind of keyboard sound.
Yeah, and Wurlitzer gets a solo. The trumpet gets a solo. But it's got this really great refrain. I think that this is probably my favorite of the tracks, to be honest with you, because once again, the trumpet's great. The guitar solo on this is really good, and it's a guitar solo along with the drums. A lot of times it's like, okay, time for the drum solo, and it's always my most. I mean, I like drums, but drum solos are kind of boring,
right?
You ask me. And this one, there's a drum solo, but the guitar keeps playing, so it's sort of like a guitar solo and a drum solo at the same time, and it just sounds fantastic.
Yep.
So,
and it gets harder at the end too.
Oh yeah. They build. It slows down. Too.
Yeah.
The main line kind of just slows down, but gets louder, and the drums are just like bashing the hell out of the drums towards the end.
Oh yeah.
This one, but it's really I liked this one a lot. It's just really, and it starts sneaky too. Like at the beginning, it starts with that bass. So the bass player on this album's terrific as well.
They're all great. Yeah, it's a really good group of people.
Who was the bass player? Devon Hoff.
Devon Hoff, yeah.
So.
Well, on the title track, I couldn't tell what this sounded like. If it was there's parts of it that seem there's the ambient, ethereal, spacey stuff.
Yeah.
But then it gets, I don't know, is it Latin influenced or some kind of groove, like syncopated.
Yeah, it makes me think of Zappa again. Really, that's how I once again felt like a Zappa medley.
Zappa, yeah.
Zappa melody, yeah. So, but there's 2 minutes of intro on this one.
Yeah,
it really takes a while to get going, and then the trumpet and the organ are playing the main melody on this one too, which is and it's a much longer melody that repeats, and so. It repeats twice, and then it gets into some solos with the Wurlitzer getting a solo and trumpet, and there's always room for the Sean ripping guitar solo.
A lot of distorted guitar on this one.
Yeah, and then so he's playing that towards the end. He's playing that guitar solo, and then it kind of like morphs into just noise.
Right.
And a noise, electronic noise kind of outro. And so with the percussive, which kind of takes you back to the beginning, where it's very, very ethereal and a very long intro, maybe too long for my
probably
taste, but yeah, it's a good track. I like it.
part of the problem with the long intro is the last tune on the album, Heliopause, also starts slow and spacey and has that kind of feel as well.
Is there a particular track this one reminded you of, Dave? I'll let you think for a second.
Ooh, I don't know if I can remember. I've listened to so much music. I don't know if I can remember it.
I think it sounds almost exactly like "Careful with That Axe, Eugene" from
I
Pink
wrote down
Floyd.
Floyd. I wrote down Pink Floyd. So that is a great, yeah. Slow and spacey, muted trumpet, ostinato.
By the way, the heliopause, I did my research on
you
this.
did.
Is the boundary of the heliosphere, the spherical region around the sun that is filled with solar magnetic fields and the outward moving solar wind consisting of protons and electrons.
So if you like science, this might be your album too. And space.
I've got my lab coat on.
Yeah,
I usually have it on during under the microscope. So
right. Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, very much reminded me of that. That actually, Gene. It's got that little steady bass line kind of.
Oh, do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it sneaks up on you, this one.
Yeah. So I think, that's it. I mean, looking at the album as a whole, do you think it's intended to be, I mean, this is, I guess every artist wants their music to be listened to, but you mentioned earlier this would work well as kind of a background album. Do you think it's intended to be heard that way, or this song, or
and it does feel like more of a background type track. The other ones I'd say no. The other ones I have enough interest in me that can really enjoy them. Maybe having a little bit of a toke before this, listening to this for 40 minutes or whatever.
Some chemical enhancement
would be helpful. And make you enjoy it. But I was surprised at how much I liked the experience of listening to this over and over again, especially compared to, I thought, I'm looking forward to listening to the Dhani Harrison album.
Right.
And that one didn't grow on me, and this one did grow on me.
Yeah, and especially because we focus so much on our discussions about the lyrics and how much lyrics really make a song, and to have an instrumental album with no lyrics
is challenging to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
I knew that. I was like, oh, this is gonna be hard to talk about. I'll have to really think harder about this and make more specific notes.
Right.
I mean, really, my notes have ended up being like, kind of reminds me of Careful with That Axe.
Well,
but I like it. I think if you like jazz, you'll like it. If you like Zappa, you'll like it. If you like the sort of more instrumental Pink Floyd type stuff, you'll like it. If you're a jazz snob, you probably don't listen to the Beatles podcast. But if you don't like your jazz and your rock together, then steer clear. But everybody else, I'd recommend it to.
Well, and it again, of these Beatle children, Sean, not surprising given who his parents are, but he's really, you can't pigeonhole him into one way or another. He really is not so inquisitive and keeps coming up with different genres and things to try. So I really admire that, and but yet still keeping it interesting to listen to. It's not just so far out that you don't want to hear it. I think it works well.
I do think that both of them are, maybe not intentionally, putting a little bit of muzzle on the possibility of having a big career. Like, it almost seems like they don't want big, huge success. They just want to make music that they like, and they don't really care if it sells that big. They don't really care if they're big hit, because these two could easily just make an album together, and it would be a sensational album, I bet. And it would blow the doors off of, be a big seller, at least in the Beatles community, which is pretty big.
Yeah.
But they are going to the beat of their own drum and not really caring. You know, a lot of Sean's stuff. By the way, you can go to Chimera Music. Is that how you?
Yeah,
I always have a
Chimera.
problem pronouncing that, but if you can go to Chimera Music and get this album on, I believe vinyl and CD. I don't believe there's a cassette. There is cassette of some of his other stuff. So I was just there the other day looking at it because might have bought it, but it's at the store. It's at the store too, so I could
go support the store. Yeah,
but yeah, I admire that, but I also am like, man, it would be really cool if the two of them just
I know.
like really cool, great album together.
Yeah. Well, here's the question though, as we now segue to our third Beatles son.
Yeah.
Should James McCartney be part of that group too?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Well, 1 week later, it's interesting. We had the Danny was February 9th, then Sean's was February 16th, and then February 23rd, we have a single by James McCartney called Beautiful. And it's his first release in 8 years. So he's been out of it for a while. It's a pretty short song, only about 2.5 minutes or so.
Yes.
And yeah, so what do you think of Beautiful?
It's a pretty basic lyrics. Beautiful for being my baby.
Yeah.
Is said a lot. There's a couple other lyrics in there. He has a different vocal effect and he's singing quite high on this, and I kind of like it. I think it makes him sound the best I've ever heard him vocally. The problem with this song is his guitar playing is atrocious and mixed so loud that it is like it makes the track seem very amateurish, if you ask me.
You know what it reminds me of is his same guitar part on Heaven on a Sunday from Flaming Pie.
Yeah.
It's
a great song other than his guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. It really was. It's the same kind of style.
Yeah.
Same sound.
Exactly.
So yeah, as a song, it's a ballad. It's kind of a minor key, slowish ballad. I think the music of it is okay. Actually, the tune is catchy and is, you know, simple lyrics, but yeah,
not offensive. It's not an offensive bad song. Except for the guitar part. It's one of those things. It's like, man, just get the, like, how can you not hear that the guitar part's too loud?
I know.
Like, what are you know? So it feels like there's if you ever got this guy with a really good producer, maybe we could salvage something here. But we've talked a lot about James McCartney. Well, not a lot, but we talked about him previously and didn't like much of his music.
No.
And I find most of it to be not very great, not very, you know, it's like it's something off on everything.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Something's off. Is derivative, or I don't know, there's something just not there.
So
whereas the other two are
the other two have got skills.
Yes, definitely.
Times 10. And like, even if you don't like, you listen to Innerstanding and you don't like it, you can't say it's not inventive and interesting.
No, definitely.
The soundscape thing, the interviewer or the reviewer who didn't like it, definitely could create soundscapes. We know Sean Lennon can do that in multiple different projects. Has always done that. And definitely here, that's all it is. Half of the album's just soundscape. So, so I think that's where James McCartney lacks, where the other two excel.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll put links to all three of those new releases in our description. And as we close off here, we still have a couple another big new release which we should talk about because it was released
perhaps
on Friday.
The biggest release.
Well, certainly the most famous of all these people. Yeah. And that would be Beyonce with her new album Cowboy Carter. And there's a cover. It was released on Friday, or this last Friday. We're recording on the 31st of March here. And she does a cover of Blackbird, but it's spelled Biird, so
Mm-hmm.
Blackbeard.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about it is the backing track is the actual Beatles, is Paul McCartney's track from the White Album with
Yeah.
the guitar and his foot tapping.
Yeah.
So that's there. And then what else is on the track?
Well, I it's Beyonce singing,
Yes.
obviously,
Yeah, yeah.
but a couple of other black women are singing on it.
Country
Um,
singers. Yeah,
country
black country
singers.
singers. Mhm.
That's right. So they've reframed this. This song was written from Paul McCartney. When you hear him talk about it in the lyrics, I don't have it quite in reach,
Yeah.
but there's the lyrics there. Um, as talking about the racial issues in
Yeah,
America.
civil rights. Mhm.
Yeah. So to have a Southern black woman singing over the track is probably even more appropriate than Paul McCartney singing. Of course, we love the Beatles. We love the Paul McCartney version, but I think this is great. It's
Yeah.
a great cover. Fantastic. Put me in the camp of I like Beyonce. She's it's good. It's
Well, it's really
not very
faithful.
controversial. Yeah, a
No,
very faithful cover.
yeah, her singing, she doesn't even change the tune at all. It's
Yeah.
just these other women who sing on it kind of fill in
Yeah.
between in nice oohs and ahs and
Yeah, it sounds like Blackbirds
blackbirds, right? Black
singing.
girls, yeah.
And I haven't personally seen any negative responses. I saw a story about strong reactions from Beatles fan, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then I clicked it, and it was just a clickbait title. All it was praise.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Queen does it again,
Yeah.
like Paul's so great to give permission for this. And I think I haven't seen if Paul has reacted to it himself.
No, I haven't seen that either.
But I guess there have been negative reactions from some camps, and
Yeah.
I can't understand it unless you're just, I mean, Beyonce this is a country album,
Right.
and she did a cover of Jolene, where in that one she changes it, so it's like Jolene is very meek, kind of like, please don't take my man. Her version's kind of like, you're not going to take my man. I'll kick your ass.
Right.
So I would think that would offend people more than a very to the note,
Yeah.
faithful cover of that. And I know that it's a country album and she's stepping into the country world. And so your classic country racists don't like that so much because she's number one on the charts instead of Jason Aldean, So
But then
I
again,
can understand.
Blackbird is not exactly a country song anyway.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So
yeah.
I would step lightly if you're going to be offended by this.
Yeah.
But I wonder if the people who are offended by this have even listened to it.
Right.
And if they're just knee-jerk reaction to like a pop, I don't know if it's a pop singer singing a Beatles song that offends them, or a black person singing a Beatles song that offends them. Either way, you better really be careful in your thinking. You better examine your own thinking. Why you would be that offended by anyone doing a Beatles cover in the first place.
Right.
It's like, just don't listen to it if you don't want to listen to it.
Because God knows there have been some pretty awful ones, and we've talked about them on this program, and and this one is far from that, because it's, as we keep saying, it's really faithful. And the only thing that I find a little weird is the ending. I don't really quite get the ending. Kind of a strange little electronic-y thing, and a little ding like a phone text message sound. So that's kind of weird. But the rest of it,
yeah, I think that's
great.
Probably in the context of the record too.
I think so too.
Because my wife was talking to me about Beyonce the other day, and that she really wants to go through and listen to Beyonce, because you hear, Single Ladies and the big hits. But if you like she's become more of an album artist where
Right.
it's like it's a real event when a Beyonce album comes out. It's as huge as anybody, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and hardly anybody else has that
Right.
type of thing. And when their albums come out, you want to listen to them as albums. So we should be tipping the hat of people who enjoy albums,
Yeah.
enjoy that, and not just singles. Should be excited kind of that here's some good modern artists who are embracing the album and form and
Yeah.
trying to do something new with it. So so I'm all thumbs up on Beyonce.
Yeah, I liked it. I've
Yeah.
listened to it a few times and enjoyed the additions of the background singers, and
Yeah.
I think it sounds great. So,
You know who else likes this? Probably Paul's bank account.
oh, definitely. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing. Paul's going to make bank on this one.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So, now here's speaking of Paul, unpublished, but uploaded on his YouTube channel is a full Paul McCartney and Wings BBC in concert 1973.
Really?
No announcement about
No.
it, nothing, but there are 12 tracks there. It's a Soily, Big Barn Bed, Win the Night, Seaside Woman, Wildlife, Little Woman Love, Maybe I'm Amazed, My Love, Live and Let Die, The Mess, Hi, and Long Tall Sally.
Wow. This is news to me.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to break it at the end of the episode. So,
I'm looking it up right now so I can listen to it.
Now, I'll say there's nothing remastered here, and it's kind of noisy. It almost sounds like it's being played off a cassette tape or something. But why would this be uploaded on his official site? I'm trying to figure it out. I wonder if it's somehow one of these loophole things, because it's 1973
right
concert. No, that's 51 years ago.
That's Pat. Yeah.
So why would that matter? It was uploaded a couple of weeks ago. And it's there. It is under Paul McCartney. Now you can't just go to Paul McCartney and find it because it's unpublished. But if you type in Soily Live Paul McCartney, and you'll be able to find them. So I'll send you a link. We'll put a link in our show notes of some of these.
Yeah.
So you can listen to, we'll give you a link to the whole playlist. So
very strange. So yeah, I don't know.
What could it mean? What could it mean? Could an official release be coming out of
it
live in 1973?
Yeah, official release.
I don't know. It's weird.
Well, especially you said that there's no Band on the Run songs on it, so it doesn't. Are there, or so it doesn't even correspond to that release?
No, there's Live and Let Die is the closest you get to Band on the Run song. So
interesting.
So, but yeah, there it is. And I found a guy on Twitter that I follow was posted like, "Hey, look at this," and then I sure enough go to the official Paul McCartney. I mean, when you click on it, it's officially uploaded in the official, followed by 1 million Paul McCartney YouTube channel. So
fascinating.
So look at them. That like I said, they're not. That's the other thing is I can't. If it is an official release coming out, why do they sound so bad in this uploaded version? It sounds like a radio, like a guy playing it off the cassette that he recorded off of the thing. So it's very strange, very strange. So,
well, we'll keep our eyes and ears out for any news.
Speaking of playlists, by the way, you might have noticed if you follow our song album career that we've got some more videos up. And not only do we have videos up, but we have a playlist for each of them. So I did a song of the night the other day talking about Changes, Black Sabbath and Charles Bradley one. But you can go to the playlist and listen. You get the song, me talking about it for a few minutes, and then you get the best versions of the songs that I found.
Mhm.
You did one on an album a few weeks ago.
Yeah, the musical Assassins by Stephen Sondheim.
Mm-hmm.
So showing the kind of diversity of what we listen to. And so, yeah, please go check out and subscribe. It'll help the channel Song Album Career on YouTube.
That's right. And we keep working and keep uploading new stuff. We also have very special for the very first time an edited version of one of our old episodes. And I think we'll probably do this for all of the songs under the microscope, where you'll be able to listen to an edited version of the song under the microscope that also has the closed captioning, so you can read along with what we're saying. And then that will also have a playlist and those playlists will have every track we talked about. So it could be a few tracks like the one Yes It Is only had a couple covers that we talked about. Or if we talk about 20 covers, all 20 will be there for you to listen to. So some of these playlists will be kind of longer than the other ones. But yeah, go check that out. I think you'll enjoy re-listening to that. Yes, it is. If you heard that many years ago at this point.
Right. Yeah. Thanks to Chris
good.
for doing that and for putting all that stuff together.
Yeah.
So, well, very good. So it's been a good, hearty, meaty episode here with lots of new music to check out. And as I mentioned, we'll post all of these links to, I use Spotify, so I'll just post the Spotify links to the albums or YouTube. I'll pick one and then post them. And we will see what comes up next. Talk about what our next episode is.
Record Store Day is coming up.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of things.
Beatle related releases there. So
yeah, we'll see what happens. But anyway, as always, thanks for listening, and we'll be back at you soon with a new episode.